country talking to photographers, and I met a very strange term in Calcutta where somebody said, सर ये जो फोटोग्राफर है ये तो 56-60 का फोटोग्राफर है. And I didn't know what that term meant until I asked them, and they said, sir, he is a wedding photographer, and his boss, when he goes for a wedding, he fixes the aperture and the shutter speed, so he doesn't know what 8 stands for, what 11 stands for. So a photographer like that is a mechanical photographer, so he is working only with his hand, he is not even using his head. But if you go to portrait studios, I went to a portrait studio, I think in some town, and they, the assistants, who do not know photography, the boss has set 3 lights. He says, make the person sit there on these 3 lights and click his picture. So he is using some ability, like he knows कि ये 3 light है और camera यहाँ पर है और subject यहाँ बैठा है. So he is using his hand, he is using his mind, but he is not using his soul. So again, he is a photographer, but he is a studio photographer. So if you want to be known as a creative photographer, and if you want to transcend the medium of photography into creativity, then unless and until you learn to work with your soul, I don't think you can really reach there. And there are methods of doing it. Like I remember, I normally don't see films, but the other day my family was seeing this Tare Zami Pe in the house, and I sat down, and I was very intrigued by one sequence where there is a painting competition, and everybody is painting, all the children are busy, and Amir Khan is looking out for this boy whom he likes, but he is not there. So what is this boy doing? If you see the end of the film, this boy comes back in time and he does a painting which wins the award. And then you learn that that boy had got up early in the morning. He was the first to get up actually, and he used that time to prepare himself. So before you start creating, you have to prepare yourself to create. You cannot be like a switch of a light that you on the switch and you start creating. You need some preparation, and that preparation time can vary from person to person. Some people may take a few minutes to prepare themselves, and some people may take more time. Like I also know that when I go to a new town and I want to photograph it, the first day I get up early in the morning, and I get up and my whole family is sleeping. I'll just go out for a walk and walk in the streets of that town. So by walking, what do? You are smelling the city. You are getting visual cues from the city as to which color the city is. If you travel extensively, you will notice that every city has a color. Every city would have a different kind of color which dominates that particular city. And every city would have some forms which will dominate that city. So if you are able to identify that color and that form and that smell and the flavor of that city, then your pictures when you start shooting would reflect that color and that form and that flavor and that shape, which is very important. Only then you will get the real essence of that city. So rather than making pictures mechanically, where somebody has said, okay, you go and take a picture of Gateway of India, VT, Hanging Garden, you come back in one day after photographing all these pictures. But if you really want to do it with the feeling that you want to convey the feeling of Bombay city through a VT picture, then that needs time, and it needs your emotional attachment to that picture. So it is possible to do it. and I'm fortunate that 2 or 3 photography schools in Bombay, they call me at the end of their lectures, they call me on the last day, and for the last few years I've been speaking to the students, and I always tell them that if you really want to pursue photography as a profession, don't do it to make money. Don't do it that I will make so much money. Do it because you are convinced within your heart, within yourself, that you want to make a visual difference to the kind of pictures that you make. Only then can your photography be successful. And I also tell them that if you really want to make a difference, you should not pursue a kind of photography which everybody else is doing. Like everything else in life, if you get a vada pav at say every street corner, you can get it for a few rupees. So if you are a wedding photographer, there is a wedding photographer in the city in maybe every building. So I always tell them that you should try to specialize, and by specialize I mean that you should call yourself, let's say, a baby photographer, or call yourself even a cat photographer, or a dog photographer, or a horse photographer. So if you specialize in any one field of photography, then the entire city will come to you for that picture. Not only your neighborhood or the people around you, but if the whole city comes to know that there is a photographer somewhere in Bombay city who photographs only cats, for example, just take one example. I'm sure within my heart, I mean, I firmly believe in it, that within a year you would become so famous that all the people in Bombay owning cats, they would want their cats to be photographed by you. And then if your word spreads, you will have people coming from all over the country. So specialize. I think specialization is the key to being successful in the future.
Agarwal, you want to ask something on this point of time? Specialization?
That's a good point. It's very valid point.
And you can take the example from all the fields around us. If you want to go to a doctor, you go to a GP and he will charge you a few hundred rupees. He'll see your pulse and he'll prescribe the medicine. He may charge you 100, 200, 300, whatever. But the moment you have an ailment, you say, okay, I want a knee surgery or I want a heart surgery, and then you go to a specialist. He'll charge you maybe a lakh of rupees for a day. But then all the doctors are MBBS, they all pass through the same college. But some doctors who have specialized, they are more popular, and you can be more well known, and of course you can end up making more money also. So I think the same thing applies in photography. I know photographers in America, I'm sure you would also know, that there are photographers who specialize in only photographing liquid. There's a photographer who shoots only liquid. So if you want a picture of wine, or you want a picture of perfume, or you want a picture of Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, you would go to him. And I'm told he's booked for not days or weeks, but he's booked for months. And he charges a fortune for it. Similarly, photographers who specialize in, I know in the maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, I knew photographers in Bombay who were specializing in, let's say, food or ice cream or industries, and they would be very busy. They would be busy for months. But today everybody wants to be a GP. Nobody wants to specialize. So if I have to give one piece of advice, it will be that please follow your passion, what you are fond of doing, and specialize. I know photographers abroad who specialize in one animal, like I know photographers who shoot only tigers, or only lions, or only crocodiles, or only snakes, but their pictures are so amazing. There's a photographer in Germany who shoots only through a microscope, and he's world famous because then their work has that passion. And I think passion is the key to photography. If you have passion about something, then your work will reflect that passion. Like since I run a photo library, I have photographers coming to me virtually every day to show me their work. And invariably, when I see their work, I ask them one question, and I know how much passionate he is. Like last week, a photographer had come with some pictures of birds and butterflies, and I asked him, "What is the name of this butterfly?" And he said, "Sir, I don't know." I said, "If you don't know the name, then why did you photograph it?" So, that one answer of that photographer shows me how passionate he is about his subject. And today the market is so competitive, it is so cutthroat, that if you are not passionate about what you are shooting, you cannot be successful. Because only if you know the behavior of a bird or an animal, you would know that now that bird is sitting on that branch, and you would know that at which moment it will fly, or how it will fly, or where it will fly. If you are aware of that behavior pattern, only then can you take good pictures. If you do not know the behavior, then whatever lens you may have, whatever camera you may have, you will never end up with good pictures.
So the question was that everything you connect with photography. So it is about the passion.
Absolutely.
What about fine art photography?
Yeah.
See, other thing which I always say is that in whichever profession you are in, if you are a taxi driver, you will drive a taxi every day. If you are a doctor, you will go to a hospital every day. So if you want to be called a photographer, you have to shoot every day. You have to carry your camera every day around your neck. If you don't do that, then you are not a photographer. So when I say that your life is a photographer's life, you know what does that mean? It means that you are a photographer for 24 hours a day. You are seeing visually, you are imagining pictures, you are seeing pictures, and then the moment an opportunity comes, you know that okay, this is my frame. You don't have to think about it. Like when you are driving a car, you do not say कि gear कहाँ पर है, clutch कहाँ पे है, brake कहाँ पर है. You do it intuitively. Similarly, if photography is within you, then the moment you see a scene, your eye should tell you immediately that okay, this is my frame, and you should not struggle with the shutter speed and aperture and lens and all that. All that should come intuitively. Only then can your pictures transcend the mechanical function of the camera. Then what you will be shooting would be from your heart, not from your camera. And today to be successful, that is important. Otherwise, the world is very cruel. It is very hard.
When did you think that I'll become a photographer?
Wonderful. Good question. That takes me back years and years. I remember, I think I was in the 6th or 7th standard, which would be how old was I? Maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. And we had a good drawing teacher in the school. I remember his name was Mr. Rokde. He ultimately joined the films division as a animator, and I met him some months ago. Wonderful man. So he was a wonderful teacher. So I became interested in drawing, and I remember in the first year or second year, I passed those drawing exams called elementary exam and intermediate exam. I passed all those exams, and I felt I was enjoying myself and pretty good at it. But you would draw something and you would show it to somebody and they would say, "Ah, theek hai, so what?" I remember in my school days I had drawn a Buddha painting. I was painting, I think watercolor maybe, and I was very proud of it. And nobody appreciated it. They said, "Ah, theek hai, Buddha hai, to kya hua? What happened?" Then we had a very good Hindi teacher, Professor Saxena, and I remember once I wrote a poetry, and he was so impressed that he called me to the school teacher's room, and he said, "Jagdish, ye poetry sabko padh ke sunao." And I remember reading that poetry to the entire teacher's room, and they all clapped. So one suddenly felt कि okay, one can become a poet. So drawing छोड़ के I started writing poetry. I wrote Hindi poetry, then I wrote English poetry, then I wrote Hindi prose, then I wrote English prose. But one day, my uncle, our family is in the textile business, export and import business. My uncle had gone abroad, and he came back with a Agfa box camera as a present for me. This was when I was maybe 13, 14 years old. I was in school only. And in those days we used to, I think, get a roll for some 8 rupees. And in that 8 rupees, the shopkeeper would give you a roll. And after shooting, you take the camera back to him. He would process the roll and give you contact prints, small prints. And that would cost me 8 rupees. And I remember my father used to give me 4 annas as a pocket allowance every day. I would get 4 annas a day as my pocket allowance, in which I could have a samosa or a sandwich or a coke or something. So I used to save that 4 annas a day, and which would amount to 8 rupees a month, and buy 1 roll a month. And the first roll that I shot, first or second roll, was of my sister. She was 3-4 years old. And when those prints came from the studio, the kind of appreciation I got, I never got for my poetry or my prose or my paintings. So once suddenly felt that okay, this is a medium where praise is instant. And man is an animal who craves praise. You may get a lot of money for something, but ultimately a photographer, if his picture is praised by somebody, I think that is his biggest, he feels that that is his biggest achievement. So I think it was at that stage where I felt okay that I can do some photography. And then subsequently, after I passed my Cambridge, and before I could join college, the Cambridge exam is held in December, unlike SSC, which is in March, April. And the college starts in June. So between December and June, we had a 6 months gap. So during that 6 months holiday, I joined Indo-American Society's photography class. Professor Pillai was there. He was teaching photography. Wonderful teacher. I think all that I have learned in photography, I have learned from him. And when I did his class, they had a contest at the end of the class, and in that contest my picture got the first prize. And then they have an annual contest where till that time Professor Pillai had taught about 2,000 students. So from those 2,000 students, I again got the first prize. So when you get 2 first prizes in a span of a few months, you start feeling that okay, you know something. And just after a few months, there was a All India contest by the Indian Railways, in which they had entries from all over the country. And there Raghu Rai got the first prize and I got the second prize.
So
So
my
one-
first film on Raghu Rai and second on you.
So I suddenly felt, and there are other similarities, since I've just seen the film, that even my first picture published was in Hong Kong. I had gone to Hong Kong in 1971, and again another common name, Kishore Parekh, which Raghuji mentioned. Kishore Parekh in those days used to work for a Hong Kong magazine called Asia Magazine, and they had a contest, photography contest, and he was the judge. And I remember I had gone to a restaurant to have dinner, and in those days I had a Canonite camera.
नहीं बात पूरी होने दो.
Sorry, huh? Okay.
Hmm.
So we were having dinner, and my friend said that can you take a picture in this light, because in the restaurant there were very few lights, and I had just learned how to take long exposure without a tripod. So I kept my camera on the table, and I took a long exposure, and that picture I submitted for that contest, and I got the first prize. So my first published picture in a foreign magazine, first prize by Kishore Parekh, and the prize was I can have a cup of tea with him.
Oh.
So I went to Kishore Parekh's studio, and he offered me tea and biscuits. But I sat with him for 3-4 hours, and he had done a shoot for Cathay Pacific Airlines, and he was editing that shoot. And I still remember, I was so small at that time, but I still remember distinctively that he was so strict, he was so rigid, that his assistant showed him a picture of the aircraft, and the smoke that comes out from behind the aircraft, it forms a wavy pattern. And you could see the building behind that wavy pattern. So I remember Kishore ji telling them कि ये बहुत अच्छा लगता है, I want more of it. So you go back again tomorrow, put the aircraft here, so that I have the wave right till the end of the frame. So you learn every day. I mean, even today when I meet somebody, I learn. I mean, you learn every day. Like if you remember, we just met a photographer in an art gallery on Saturday, and I can say that I learned something from him.
Sopan Nayak.
Sopan Nayak. Because his preparation of taking a picture was really interesting. So we can learn from everybody.
थोड़ा सा break लेते हैं.
Okay, break.